same.
Go, thank you. All right, so I called the meeting in order because the recording wasn't going, and I called the meeting to order at 7:11. So moving through, we have a public input, and I don't see public, so we will continue on. Correspondence, nothing that anybody has received other than what we're going to look at tonight, sent out previously. Election of officers, which we still have not done yet. As I mentioned last meeting, Josh Adams was never sworn in and let me know that he cannot continue with us. So the Board of Selectmen is aware of this. First Selectman Dan Carter said that he would be in touch with Republican Town Committee to get a name from them to be put forward to the Board of Selectmen for approval. Most likely at their next meeting, which is the beginning of May. And so there should be someone by our next meeting. So if the Board of Selectmen can do this on May 2nd, then our meeting, which is May 10th, we should have somebody. Because they get appointed and then notified to go get sworn in. So do we wait or do we do something now?
I think we should wait.
Wait. Well, we don't have Perna, plus we don't have that person, so yeah, and I'm good with that. I know,
Or Dave Warren.
and Dave Horvath, Dave Horvath got stuck at work, so, all right, so we'll wait on that, make sure it gets on the next agenda, we'll both check on that. So then we have our meeting minutes to approve, so I will make a motion that we approve the regular meeting minutes of April 12, 2023.
Second.
Roy seconds. Does anybody have anything from the minutes that they notice that need to be updated, changed, etc.? We're all good, so we'll approve those. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Yep, Dave's good. He's waving his white flag. And anybody have to abstain? I don't think anybody does. All right, so we're good. So.
John Menti.
Oh, yeah, you weren't here last time because you were
Oh,
away.
that's right.
Yeah,
I was
so
away.
Menti has to.
I abstained.
All right, thank you.
Forgot.
So we're good with the minutes. So moving through our agenda, we rearranged things a little bit because we have a few things we have to deal with in a certain order. So municipal center renovations. I sent out the letter of substantial completion, which included a punch list that we put together. We had a meeting on the 18th with Mark Schweitzer, Jay from BMP, myself, Kathy, Rachel McGrath, head of Park and Rec. We walked around, checked everything out. There were some minor items and some little bit larger items. And most of it is finished. Kathy and I were looking at it just for the meeting, and we couldn't get in to the GP room because there's theater practice going on. We didn't want to disturb them. So Jay sent out a quick saying that he had somebody here looking at everything, fixing things, except for the toilet partitions. So they're the only ones that are, and there's a whole plan that'll happen, coordinate with Rachel Park and Rec, because they'll have to kind of close off that area for a couple of days, which is fine because other bathrooms will be available, and Rachel doesn't want to do it on a weekend. She wants to do it during the week and just kind of get it done, boom, 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 rather than close it off on a weekend, because on a weekend they're often using this space for events. So Mark, what did you find out? Because I know there's a couple more things that came up.
Okay, if I can, Kathy, if I can share my screen.
Yep, you should be able to.
Okay. And you should see the substantial completion letter. I kind of highlighted it through based on Jay's email from this afternoon saying that basically everything was done except for the toilet partitions, the partition work. So everything highlighted in yellow is the partition work. So if we go back to the original punch list on the letter of substantial completion, anything in yellow is partition work. The other 5 items have been completed by BMP. either last week or today. I guess one of their superintendents was out there today. So this has not been verified. I have not been out there this week, so I will be going out there probably tomorrow to confirm that these have been completed. And then there was we met on the 18th
Yes,
and did the punch list, and then there were a couple follow-up emails with items from downstairs. We did not get downstairs during the meeting. Nancy, I believe you went down there and discovered the items that are basically highlighted in green. So according to the email that we got from Jay this afternoon, all these items have been completed and they will be verified tomorrow.
so there's a couple things, like if you're gonna check tomorrow, Mark, a couple things that I noticed, and Kathy, because we were looking at it together. I haven't been down to the senior center area, which is underneath where the plumbing is, et cetera. They were supposed to clean that on Monday, so I haven't been down there yet.
Yep.
They're supposed to clean both of the storage areas that are directly underneath where they had to cut open the ceilings and do the plumbing and then close the ceilings back up. There was just a lot of dust still in there. The farthest, if you're facing that back wall, the farthest room to the left, which is where they store their yoga mats and weights and things like that, was an area that no work was done there, but apparently during demolition and whatever, the old flaky paint ceiling was, Lisa said it was like snowing. She wants the stuff tested, so we'll have to look into that. We may have to have hygienics come and just do a quick test there.
I did email Jim. I did see that, and I did email Jim probably about an hour ago, just to see if he had already tested it. Jim's pretty thorough. I would be surprised if he didn't test the ceilings.
Jim Twitchell?
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't ask them to test there.
Okay.
I don't think we had them do it. When did we have to do testing in the basement area? Yeah. See, that area though wasn't gonna be, we'll find out, because he didn't reply. It was just a little while ago, but we weren't gonna do anything in that room. Because I did also ask, there's a light in that room and it doesn't work now. The switch goes on and off, but there's no light. Jay said that they didn't do anything to the light in that room or to any electrical, anything, anywhere. So we need to check and see if it's a building maintenance thing, which I'll have to email Kathy formally and let her know. Because Jay Metcalf said that wasn't something that they worked in, on, or around. I don't think there was anything that was cut off in any of the other rooms that might have led to that. And that he remembers that light working. So we'll have to see what we can find about that. Also what I saw, and I'll do an email follow-up, the entry room coming into the GP room, the left-hand door, which would be the right-hand door coming in, left-hand door going out, was the one that was scraping, and you could see marks on the threshold, the aluminum threshold. That still makes a scraping sound when you open it, and I also see that a couple of the screws are kind of proud of the threshold. They're sticking up. They don't seem to be loose, but they should go down a little further somehow. And shouldn't be sticking up, because that'll be something that'll happen, a problem over time. And then the doors going in, like I said, the doors going into the GP room, the double doors with the glass, I didn't get to see whether they put the spacers in. However, we may need to revisit, and this might be something that we'll have to, as those doors open, there's nothing that wants to hold them open and nothing that wants to stop them from being pushed far against the walls. And it seems possibly during the referendum last week that they were pushed way open. Mm-hmm. And there's no hold open things on the top that are going to stop it from going too far.
Right.
So I think what BMP did, because you guys didn't do it, right? Those things on the floor?
Yeah, we didn't do it.
So there are two door stops on the floor now to keep them only from going so far. But the only way that they can be held open is by shoving rubber stoppers under them, which to me over time F's up the hinges and closers sometimes too. So we may have to look at is there some sort of a hold open closer that sits on the top, that fits on the top, that might have to replace what's there already? So we'll have to look into that. And then all the cleaning of all that cleaning is gonna happen after they finish with all the tile work and the new partitions and moving the partitions. Partitions, basically, the main thing is that they're not centered as they're supposed to be on a toilet, and so there's not enough space on the one side to be code.
They don't have the 15-inch clearance on the one side of the toilet, on the ADA toilet, so they gotta move them. And that causes, the biggest issue is that they've already drilled into the ceramic tile, the ceramic wall tile. So it's the ceramic wall tile trade that has to come in after the partition trade comes in and takes them off. It's a series of events that is caused by the need for the relocation of the partitions.
Right, and they have a whole plan to do it over like 4 days. Of one day they take the partitions down. And
Correct.
maybe the same day get the tile guys there, take the tiles out, put new tiles in, let them sit, grout them, come back with the partitions, put them in place, and then they've got to clean, because there was a lot of residue left on both the walls and the floors of those
Correct.
bathrooms.
Yeah, Jay was saying that's a 4-day process. That's why they want to do it. Well, Rachel was saying how she wants it done during the week because there is other bathrooms, and those 2 bathrooms can be shut down.
So they'll put up some kind of temporary, keep people from coming through there, both from the outside and the inside, and then have signs directing to other bathrooms, and done like in 3 days, maybe 4 at the most. All right, so I'll do an email and to everybody, and you can follow up with what your plan is, and we'll see what we can get. Is there anything else I missed? Do you remember? No, I don't think so. Yeah.
Is Mark, are you coming tomorrow?
Yeah,
Or will you let me know that you're here so I can go down there with you?
sounds good. I will come get you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we don't have any invoices. However, I did add up a bunch of the invoices to come up with where we are budget-wise, and discovered, because I checked in with Brad in finance, that we paid an invoice twice. So we're getting that to Colliers, getting that back. And so where we are right now is just the 3, Hygienics, Colliers, and BMP. We're at 387,000, or $387,395.17. So we're well below the amount that was approved by the Board of Selectmen. So that's a good thing. And so we only have one final payment from BMP that we'll have to deal with, and a final payment from Colliers, and so we'll see what that comes out to be, probably either at our next meeting or by the end of May. All right, so anything else, Mark?
Nope, that is it.
Any questions for anybody? No, not you. All right, so that's good. We'll have another update at our next meeting. Mark will check in with Kathy about looking at everything tomorrow. I won't be able to be there. So, okay. All right, thanks, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
Yep, you too. So moving on to we moved up the HVAC project for the Bethel High School, because at our last meeting, some questions were asked, et cetera. And in both the article and information that Dr. Carver sent out about a month ago, with all the grants that were approved so far, I think it's like 56 million. There's still a 90-something million left to be granted to people, but that's not happening until August. And so Jen is on with Craig Raza from Kohler Ronan, because we did ask some questions, kind of like, what do we do if we're waiting till August? I don't know, Jen, if you have anything you want to throw in here first before we start asking questions. She's still there. Maybe asking dinner. Anyways, well, so we'll get started. So
All right, sorry, it took me a minute to unmute myself. I don't have anything to add on that. We asked Craig to join to because he's the best person. He's our engineer from Kohler Ronan to kind of respond to some of the questions.
So the biggest thing, Craig, that we're thinking was, if we're in August, so that's another several months down the road, if a grant is given to us, are we gonna have to make any updates to the plans? Or do you think we'll be good with what we have now? Will they be timely even several months out?
The phase 2, which is already complete, there will be some updates required to remove some scope of work potentially, because I imagine it's going to be rebid at that time. I don't think you're just going to give it to the current low bidder, but I'm not sure. But phase 3 will also be designed by then. So you have an opportunity. Phase 3 has some of the work that's in part of the grant. You have an opportunity to combine the two projects together and then only include the scope of work that's part of the grant.
Yeah. So I think that the initial RFP that went out included the whole entire project, which of course we had not yet funded all of it yet. So,
Actually, can I jump in on that?
yeah, go ahead, Jen.
So the RFP that went out included adding air conditioning to the 1975 building, as well as some upgrades to, I think it was ERU 2. And so the grant work was a subset of what went on in the initial RFP. And so the design work associated with the initial RFP is done. There is the work to design everything that we wish we could do at the high school is what Craig is calling phase 3. So that design work is in process and should be finished. I think it's around June is the time frame the path they're on right now.
Okay.
Yep.
So the part that's already designed is the part that, because it had to be designed when you went to apply for the grant, correct?
Yes, and AHX1, I think is what Craig is referring to, which was not part of the grant, and we're waiting on and it's part of the design he's still working on.
Okay. So
Not what Board of Ed is going to do.
yeah. So if we get the grant, we're pretty much ready to go ahead and put together a RFP
Yes,
to go out and find we don't have to use the same people that are doing
ERU 2.
ERU 2,
correct.
not an HVAC person. Okay, so does anybody, now John Perna, who was asking the most questions, isn't here tonight, but if anybody remembers what Perna was bringing up, if they want to throw that in there. One thing that he did ask about was, what's that?
It's Mr. Olson. The
Go
mic is open.
Dave, did you need? All right,
It's just.
okay, he's good. Keeps unmuting himself. All right, so what was it that Perna, whatever,
VRF.
VRF. So John Perna was asking about using VRF and if that's the best thing to do in a school situation.
Well, based on the analysis we did at the building and the conditions of the building, it seemed to be the most appropriate based upon what's already currently existing in the building, plus what would be the easiest thing to install, part of system type. You're going to get individual control of each room for either heating or cooling, plus treated ventilation air directly into each space to maintain good quality IAQ. So it's it's not an old traditional system. VRF's been around for the last 10, 15 years, but it's being used pretty much throughout most school systems now on a lot of applications. So from an application as far as fitting in the space, based on the conditions of the building, some of the limitations of space to get bigger ductwork down, if we went more traditional, it's the most appropriate system based on that conditions.
And is it something that'll last for a long time? We won't be putting something new in a couple of years?
Well, it should get 15 to 20 years out of it without even thinking.
Okay,
I think John was concerned about the maintenance.
Yeah.
so.
That was his hot
And
button.
the length of the service
Yeah.
life.
So, say that.
Okay. Hey, Craig?
Yeah.
Mr. Perna was talking about two things. One One, he was talking about this type of system has a very short shelf life, operational life. And he was basing that off some experience he had with some of his school buildings down south. And then he was also talking about, are these units really designed for this type of climate up here?
Yeah, you gotta remember, they're not our primary source of heating. They're a secondary source of heating. Because we have perimeter radiation in all the classrooms, which is your first stage of heating. If you need to supplement, you can. The VRF systems now are designed to work in the temperatures we have in New England. So they've made great strides in allowing a heat pump to operate down to 0 degrees and even minus temperatures. So it's not a concern, but the primary heating source you're bringing is your boiler and your perimeter radiation. So we're not changing that. And then for air conditioning, it's no different than any other system as far as our condition for climate in a DX type system. So as far as longevity, the VRFs have been around a long time. I can't tell you one or another as far as failure. I have a school that's been done now 12 years. The system is still working. So I mean, it's a lot can depend. There's a number of factors that can go in why a system doesn't last.
Okay.
Those are the questions he asked me.
Yes, right, right.
I'm not from the system.
Yeah, I'm not either. I don't think anybody is.
Well, VRF, you do have in one of your schools, Bob, don't correct me if I'm wrong, you do have a VRF system in one of your schools now, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And maintenance of it is something that you have to keep up with. And that was a concern Mr. Perna had.
But
No,
in that,
maintenance, I know, if you gotta make sure you change the filters.
Right, that's what I mean.
You gotta check the condensate pans, make sure the condensate pumps aren't a problem. You shouldn't have to check the refrigerant charge unless you have a problem, and hopefully there's no leaks. That's the only thing. But that's a lot dependent on the contractor who installs the system. But once it's up and running, it's just you're gonna have to check these things at least probably once a year, or go and clean the filters. The filters are really not much to them to do, but they, like any piece of equipment that's unitary, whether it be a fan coil, a heat pump, or etc., it does require a little bit of maintenance compared to a traditional centralized rooftop unit with multiple VAVs, which the only maintenance itself is the filter changes on that unit instead of all the little miscellaneous. But as I mentioned, the spatial conditions of the school really doesn't lend itself to putting in a fully ducted distribution system in there. So that's why we chose the VRF.
so the building you were talking about, Bob, with the VRF, is that secondary source like,
Rockwell Johnson.
okay, but it's a secondary source like he's saying, or is it
Well,
primary
in
source?
high school case, it'll be,
Yes.
we'll have two
Secondary,
sources.
yes.
It'll be secondary.
But where you're using them in Rockwell and Johnson, are they primary or secondary?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, sorry. I was curious if they were secondary, then it would be comparable to compare.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But Bob, do we have a boiler at Rockwell or Johnson?
Yeah, we
Yes, you still have
yeah.
that. That's what generates your hot water. But it's how you,
For the heat, hot water there's a boiler that does heat for hot water.
right, but what she's
Yeah.
talking about is how it gets to the actual space.
So, but Craig, does that mean that we have two separate systems for the heat? Because the VRF is more like a heat pump that doesn't use the hot water from the boiler? Is that correct?
They're two
Yeah.
independent systems, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Again, primary source is the boiler with hot water radiation. Secondary source, if the boiler can't handle it, will be the VRF.
Okay. All right, so any other questions for Craig? And I don't know, Craig, if you have anything else for us, you can let us know. Otherwise, I guess we
Oh,
wait.
I have a question for Bob. Are we having problems with reaching the appropriate heat at Johnson or Rockwell?
No, ma'am.
Okay,
No.
thanks.
But you-
Shouldn't, it's
you have
new.
to Change out all
Well,
the filters all the time.
Well, see, what I believe John was talking about was, you got to ensure you have a preventive maintenance program, and you got to make sure you have your seasonal change cleanings, all your normal stuff. And that's, in the past, we've had issues with that.
So is that something you and your staff do, or is it something you
No,
have
that's
like
something you
outside? You hire
contract
somebody
out.
to come in on a regular basis so they get it done and they know they have to come at certain times?
Correct.
We have a contract with the ESC. It starts July 1st because we're switching from our existing vendor to ESC. So we have a contract where they're going to come, I believe it's twice a year, to go to all the systems and do the filter changes and some testing to make sure the the cool air or the heat or whatever is within the manufacturer's specifications for performance.
Operational testing.
Yes.
Okay. Good, all right. Okay, so I think, like I said, the next thing we do is wait. And hope that they come out earlier than August, but if they don't, then we keep waiting. So thank you, Jen, thank you, Craig, for being on, greatly appreciated. If we have any other questions, we can be in touch.
Yep.
All
Okay,
right,
thank you.
All right, thank you. Anytime. Have a good night.
take care. So Jen, maybe you don't go away because we're
Oh,
gonna go
she's
into
gone.
the school, oh, she's gone, that's okay. I'll read the email.
Let me text her.
Because I was gonna just, in moving into the next, part of the agenda, the Rockwell and Johnson School renovations, our closeout update. So I had an email from Dr. Carver, included a bunch of us, and I think Jen was on it too, where Dr. Carver had emailed Office of School Construction on Monday, saying, I guess what had happened was they finally got to meet, and I don't know if it was an in-person meeting or a Zoom meeting, whatever, with Office of School Construction, and so they met the week before, and it seems to take a really long time to get that meeting, but I think with the grants and everything else they have to do, they're busy. Office of School Construction is busy. So that was Dr. Carver following up in the meeting that she had with Office of School Construction, saying, here's all the stuff that I sent you before, just to remind you, here it all is. And it basically saying that Office of School Construction is going to be submitting the final payment. So Dr. Carver was trying to get and make sure that Office of School Construction, Michelle Dixon from Office of School Construction, had everything she needed, acknowledged that she had everything she needed, so those next steps of us getting a payment can happen. So that's a good thing. It's moving along, and again, like that final payment will, pay down some of the bonding that had to happen, and that's less interest town has to pay, et cetera. But that would be great. And as far as I know, Dr. Carver hasn't heard anything back saying, oh no, you didn't give me this form, or it was lots of forms. She had to get stuff from Joe Collada saying, they paid all their bills, or we paid all their bills, and things like that. So just a list of things, which if you want to see them, I can forward them. Otherwise, it's all the stuff that Terry Yansky and Geraldine worked on getting in a couple months ago. And that's where we are with that. And so that if anybody has any questions on any of that, otherwise, the next part of the school project is getting into the level spreader and moving forward with getting that work done. So anybody have anything on the whole closeout process? We're good? Okay. We'll deal with the invoices for that later. We'll do all the invoices at once. So with the level spreader and remediation of the stormwater management area, James has been working on getting quotes from contractors, and he sent all that out last week, or actually a couple of weeks ago. We didn't talk about it at the meeting because we were missing some pieces, or James was actually still confirming some pieces. So
Yeah.
James, if you
Yeah.
wanna,
Essentially, nothing new has really changed since the last meeting. Because we did discuss, all the little changes that had been made, such as, using the 30-inch pipe, the pipe material, just because the contractors literally could not get anything else pretty much. But aside from that, I wanted to just confirm one thing with Sunburst, just to make sure that their price was truly their price and we weren't going to get hit by something else on the back end, especially with the plantings. But they confirmed that, yep, their price is their price. So I did send everybody everything. So I think at this point, it just comes down to choosing a contractor.
Okay, so I know you sent the info along to Joe Colada, and Joe's on with us tonight, and he also checked in with SLR to see if they could be on, but they're not available. So I don't know, Joe, if you have any.
Yeah, hi, everybody. Good to see everyone again. So, I heard back from SLR. They actually were said it was pretty difficult to review the bids because they were not really aligning apples to apples with the labor versus materials. But what they did say is that the TD and Sons was very high in the plantings. I think they were double the cost of Sunburst, and that was contributing to the overall $60,000 difference between the two bids. So, so if everything is level, I think Sunburst would be the preferred bidder based on cost. So.
Yeah, and Joe, because you missed some of the conversations from last time too. That was one of the things that confused me about TD. And I did try to touch base with them to verify because one, I verified that they had the same unit cost to install the plans as they did to purchase the plans.
Yes, yeah, SLR.
Perfectly. So I questioned that on them, and they confirmed, yeah, no, that's our number. And then I verified that it was the 21,000 because Sunburst, that was the one big major difference because Sunburst was at, 2,100 or 20. They were significantly less. So then that's why I postponed last time. I didn't want the board to vote, was because I wanted to confirm with Sunburst, yes, are you positive that you have all the plantings? And they said,
Right.
Yep, nope, not a problem. We're good to go. So, yeah.
So I don't know, James, if you can't really put them up side by side because there's two separate ones. Like Joe was saying, and I think everybody who looked at them will see that they sent them two different ways. Sunburst put it on their letterhead. TD sent a spreadsheet. Unless we created our own spreadsheet, it's hard to look at them.
Yeah, and that was my big issue with it, was just the way that they portrayed their numbers. It was very difficult to confirm apples to apples. So what ultimately I had to do was reach back out and I did include my emails in the Dropbox that I gave to the commission. But basically we went through and asked very specific questions to try to pinpoint, to make sure that everybody was looking at the same thing. They were taking into account all the different things that we needed them to do. And both of them concurred, yep, nope, it's included in my number. That's my number. Yep. So they're both confident in their numbers.
Yeah, the other thing that Darren said from SLR is that looks like TD included much larger plants than were specified, so that might be contributing to the cost there as well. That
might be, yeah.
I think that the plantings, obviously, they're going to be disturbing some areas, so they've got to plant some stuff. But we've all walked back there. It's got to be stuff that's going to grow because it's shaded and it's kind of wooded, and like walking in the woods, you're not going to plant all kinds of stuff back there. So it's just basically what's been disturbed is going to get replanted.
Well, the main plantings are actually what was specified by the soil scientist for along the embankment. So those are those planting items. Yeah. And Sunburst, I mean, I will say Sunburst did seem like they had a better grasp on the whole planting concept, which kind of makes sense considering they're more of a landscaping, that type of business, where TD is big excavation and site work. So like that fine detail of the plantings may have not have been, or they may not have been as confident in that area. But even if we took that out, the plantings out, Sunburst is still cheaper too. So,
And on the TD proposal, they say basically remove and reinstall fence. Sunburst has given us a separate quote to remove and reinstall 50 lineal feet existing chain link fencing and fabricate and install a new commercial 10-foot wide double gate into the retention pond area. So that is more, it's more of a complete quote to me, and saying, because that's what we want, is they got to get the fence out of the way instead of just installing a gate to start. Get the fence out of the way, do all the work, put up what needs to be put back up, and then put the gate in.
correct. Yeah. TD did not include a gate, but Sunburst did.
Right.
So that's another thing that's working in their favor.
Sunburst, they did the other work
Yes.
for us,
Yep.
and they did everything they were supposed to have
Yep.
done on time. Everything was great. I would feel very comfortable using Sunburst.
So
They-
the
they're,
two,
for my eyes, they're already a proven vendor.
and TD's done work for the town too, but in a much larger fashion. You know, the combination of what Sunburst can do, I think, is good. So the amounts actually, because Sunburst did two, one for all the work and the other one for the fence part. So their total amount, James, correct me if I'm not right, is $82,965. And TD's total was $133,155. So it's significantly higher.
Yep.
So
I'm
somebody can make a
comfortable
motion.
too. I mean, I'd make the motion. I think they're both excellent contractors.
Yes, they are.
So I think either one of them would do an excellent job, but this one, the pricing is such that I think we should be awarding this up first.
Didn't Sunburst say that they were gonna reconfigure the layout of that fence?
We all talked about it, right, James?
See what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just gonna do some minor configuration behind the existing gate, which will work out well. It'll provide them access behind very easily. And it's not gonna cause a negative impact on the detention basin, so.
I think the biggest thing is that instead of just having access into the retention pond, is that we also have access to the other side back to, I mean, the town, who knows, at some point, somebody goes back there and gets hurt, and you gotta get a vehicle back there. That might be the easiest way to get something down there, I don't know.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve Sunburst for the work. Go forward.
The amount.
In the
Amount of $82,964.
65.
$965.
Yeah,
I'll second that motion.
and just to be clear that there's actually two separate proposals and that we're combining them. in the
So it's
amount.
the award for the level spreader and fencing?
Yes.
That was correct.
Yeah, their proposals don't have like a number or anything on them, so, yeah. They're dated March 24th, 2023, if you want to include that. So one question I have, James, is that, actually one is March 21st, the major one, March 21st. The amount is $73,165. That's the main amount, and the amount for the fencing is March 24th, and that's $9,800. So a total of $82,965. So the biggest question is, they both also agreed, because you met with them and talked with them to a great extent about the schedule.
Mhm.
We did get schedules together using Park and Rec and school schedules. And so and that's one of the reasons why we want to get this going, is that we get on their schedule so they can do it according to that June, end of June, mid-June, end of June timeframe, when school gets out, before summer school and Park and Rec programs.
Yep, so this was their response to my question of, I wanted to make sure that, they had enough time.
Okay.
So, yep, he said he's good to start on this mid-June, as long as we let him know by the end of April, so we're there, so.
Great.
And then what do we have to do? Do we have to get something signed by somebody?
Yes, so their proposals have a signature location. However, I will email them first thing in the morning just to let them know, hey, I'm just working on signing the proposal. If you can order the pipe. Most of the contractors understand and they'll just start the order process.
Oh, and then we should probably have it signed by Dan. I'm thinking, not me.
Yeah, I'm not sure who you would want to sign this.
I'll find out.
Yeah.
Motion.
All right, so we do have a motion to accept this Sunburst proposal, and everybody's asked all their questions. Anybody have anything else? Any other input? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Oh, we didn't ask you if you got it. You're part of this too. You're good.
Oh,
He gave his input a while ago, so. All right, so everybody's good with that. So I don't think we'll have much to do with this other than signing proposals until we actually get started. So Joe Colada will let you know when, if we need you on another meeting during construction administration.
Okay.
Otherwise we don't have to drag you out here for, unless you want to, hang out with us, that's fine. All right, so we're good with that. Thank you. Anything else for Joe or James? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. And Bob, you too, but you can stick around if you want.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I have invoices. Don't go away, Bob.
Okay.
And I have three invoices. One Perkins Eastman and 2 STV. So I will make a motion that we approve Perkins Eastman invoice number 0068962.09.0-3 dated April 6th for Johnson School. It says extended, but part of it is working on the closeout and part of it has some, no, this is all Perkins Eastman and SLR for the level spreader stuff. So the amount is $3,059.49.
I'll second that. Yeah.
I didn't ask. So John Menti seconds, it's got the backup stuff, so it's Johnson School extended, we didn't get any more for Rockwell. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Done. And then STV. I'll throw that one, which one is it?
This one's the fire range.
Yeah, we don't want that one. We'll do that one later. Johnson, okay. I'll make a motion that we approve STV invoice number 900-27432 dated April 18th, 2023 for Johnson School in the amount of $1,683.50. Second, this is some level spreader stuff in meetings and some of the closeout stuff that Geraldine had to do in meetings, etc. So Dave seconds. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Done. And then the last one is for Rockwell STV. I'll make a motion that we approve STV invoice number 900-27433 dated April 18th, 2023 for Rockwell in the amount of $1,501.50. Olson second, same thing, some Geraldine, some Vinnie, with some of the closeout stuff, and then also, that's all closeout with Rockwell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Done with that. So that's all the school stuff, unless anybody else has any other questions, or you have anything that you know?
No.
I think we're good, huh?
Now you.
So from now on, we shouldn't have much to do except for when they start the actual construction of that area behind. And I guess we could let you know if you need to be.
Sure.
That way we're not.
I got no life.
Neither do the rest of us. We wouldn't be here if we did. All right, well, we'll let you know. We'll try to, know, who knows when something will come up, but, anything else for schools, anybody? Anybody? Good. All right, we will move on to, the training range, which I think we have a lot to talk about. Now, and I'm gonna let you do it, because you're right in there,
Sure. So Action Target, with their HVAC
Thanks, Bob.
subcontractor, was able to get us their updated or red line drawings. Basically, they did everything just like how JHA had. They put everything in red, so we're able to review it. It stands out very easily. Review it and make sure that they're catching everything that we asked them to. Which first few sheets, we just have regular general information, but then when we get into the actual specific drawing sheets, you can see they're changing the language everywhere that we ask them to make sure that it's very specific, that it's the Action Target contractor and not the contractor that's under Downs Construction.
Okay,
You can see that they were very thorough with it. Took them a while, so I'm glad that they were very thorough with it. But it looks like they caught the language that we were looking for. And I think that we would want them to go ahead and make these changes actually into the CAD file rather than the PDF, so that when we go out to bid, it's, it doesn't have all these red lines on it.
so with those Action Target plans, we just got them yesterday, both those and the Jakunski Humes. Have these gone to Jakunski Humes so they can update theirs, or are they still working on that?
So Jakunski Humes, they don't need to make other changes based on these,
Okay,
but they have to make their changes that they had redlined that we reviewed in the previous meeting.
okay,
So because there's no curveballs in this, we could go ahead and tell Jakunski Humes that yes, your changes were satisfactory.
Mhm.
Let's integrate them into the final plans.
okay.
Action Target's gonna do that too, and they will mesh up now.
Okay, so the biggest things, because like I said, they just got them to you, and you got us
Yeah, they
as
got them to
quickly
you.
as you could,
Yeah.
because they were holding you up. And I think the biggest thing that we all were asking about was that the language of the mechanical contractor. Who's the mechanical contractor? So is that easier to delineate, like which parts
Yes,
Action Target is showing up with a bunch of people to install, and which part Downs has to get somebody to install?
yes, so
Okay.
that's,
That's all the red line stuff,
yeah,
okay.
so you can see now it's not contractor shall provide, it's ATI
Contractor. So, and I can see what you're saying is you don't want to use those red line PDFs just to go out to bid or whatever,
Right.
or to have, so we need to have them integrate all of that. And did you have time to review it, or somebody?
I did, I read through it, and like I said, I think that they
You're good to
caught the
go?
language that
Yeah.
we're looking for, yes.
Okay, so now they have to integrate it, which I think I believe we had already approved the plans,
Yes,
but then when it started coming up, and I think Roy and a couple other people caught that, which mechanical contractor are we talking about? So I'm wondering if we need to stipulate, like, they get that done, we can do another approval at a next meeting or whatever, and initial it, if they need that. I don't know if they do or not. Probably not.
No, I mean, like
It's-
we've been saying, the submittal's already done.
Done, and it's
It's being fabricated.
it's,
It's, it's all, this is really all clarification for
Okay.
Downs's bidding process.
Right.
To make sure that we're not having them double bid or missing any
Or
scope
mi-
of work.
yes, good. Okay, so then the next step, they'll have to do all that, get it to Downs, because we haven't approved the Downs plans yet because of that reason.
Right.
Basically, who was the mechanical contractor? It wasn't specifically just the HVAC, because I know, Roy, you had some questions about, what does the electrical contractor cover, and what does Action Target's electric people too, so it was like
Yeah,
clarifying all that, so.
so that was the first meeting that I was on, which was 3 meetings ago
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
was that you guys did not approve JHA's drawings.
Right.
Because there was some grayness about whose scope
Yes.
was what.
yeah,
And also, where did the scope end, as far as connecting back to
Yes.
the electrical closet,
right,
which
right,
JHA addressed in the drawings that were reviewed last week.
Right. last time, okay. Which they did, they had done their update
Yeah.
pretty quickly,
They
and got
did,
it out
right.
to everybody. So I
But
think-
again, they did it on the PDF and not in
Right,
the drawings.
so I'm guessing we shouldn't officially approve until we get their updated.
Right, so I could, first thing tomorrow
Yeah.
morning, I could tell both of them.
Yeah.
Yes, we agree with your markups, integrate them into the drawings
Yeah.
as final
Good.
drawings to, put them as, I guess we, do we need to say for approval, or do we want to just say for bidding? For bidding and permit,
For Jakunski Humes?
yeah,
We might need to say both, because I'm thinking they want us to approve them. Because I know, like, this invoice that we have there, Vinny was gonna come and do an actual page turn, until we realized nobody was gonna be at the meeting except for Kathy, or maybe one person was here, I couldn't come to that one meeting. So, I'm assuming they want us to, but you could check with Mark, Mark's not on. But I would, you and I could check with him and make sure if they want something signed.
Yeah.
By somebody, then we should approve it, have it in the minutes, sign it, send it off.
okay.
So we'll have to check on that.
And I did talk with Brad Anderson over at Downs again, and gave him another update, where we stood, and he's still fine with middle of March, middle of May. If we got him the drawings middle of May, he's still fine with our schedule.
Okay. Because it seemed like we had lots of time because the MAU isn't coming till October.
Yeah.
But now we're starting to get to where we have to start getting things out to bid
Exactly.
so that we can start the work. So that mid-October, when that MAU
Yeah, the price
comes,
we're still having.
and they're showing up with, Action Target's showing up with all the equipment, it needs to get, that all the infrastructure's there and ready for that, so, yeah. So our next, like I said, our next meeting is May 10th, and so we want to have all that. May 10th is a Wednesday, if we can push to get it to us on that Friday, so that we all have the weekend to review, if we're gonna be making approvals, that'd be excellent.
Yes.
But I know you're,
Yeah, the JHA is not an issue.
yes, I know, yeah, okay. And Action Target, like you said, what does it take to take the red, what's in red and rework? It's just words, I don't think it's any of the plans, plans are,
Right.
it's not like they're redrawing the plans, so you're gonna work on getting that done. All right, so, what else?
Again, talking with Downs, Brad looked at it and he said, he thinks that he could actually probably cut down.
Or was it Jeff?
I'm sorry, Brad, Jeff.
Yes, Jeff, Anderson's Jeff, yes, down.
Brad,
yes.
yeah. Brad did work at Downs.
Okay.
He left.
All right, we don't know who he is, we know who Jeff is.
Yeah.
Okay,
And he thinks that he could probably cut down on the schedule that I proposed, so that would actually be on site less, which of course costs you less money as well.
right, that's
So
good.
we're still, going back and forth on that with actual duration, construction. how
Okay.
long that will be on site.
All right, so, I have a couple things left, I usually make myself notes, so I remember that these are things we have to do before we forget, because sometimes we do forget.
Yeah, and then, another thing that we had from last time was I have contacted CES to, give us a
Yes,
proposal
okay.
on the commissioning.
Okay,
You had said that you were going to talk with the first selectman if we needed to competitively bid that, or
Okay.
if, or if we could run with CES as a continuation of phase one, original building.
forgot to do, that wasn't on my list, I have other things on my list, but I got it on my list now. So Vinny had gotten a, proposal from ESC about the controls,
Yes,
which we never went through and approved. So I think we were looking at, do we need to have them update that, or is it good to go as is?
I-
So we should check on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that is something that, and again, I'll have to ask that. Of the first selectman too, because that's in a way a continuation of the original project, since they're the ones that control the rest of the building, or work controls of the rest of the building, not the cameras and stuff, that's whoever it was, Signet or, yeah.
And not on the top.
Oh, go ahead.
Not on the top of the list, because, you know, the normal HVAC more important, but on the warranty work, as far as the 5-year, was that something that you even got into, or is that still hanging out there?
Yeah, that,
So I spoke with Action Target, and again, they said that they're the one who's purchasing the equipment. They're the original purchaser, so they're owning the warranty. So they are,
One or all years?
depending on what you sign. So
Okay.
1 year is what we actually would, you already own,
That's
you already
the
own 1
standard,
year.
Right, we would have that.
It's just a matter of it's going to be extended.
Okay,
If
but who's gonna do the work of fixing?
it's the local contractor, which they still haven't given me the name of, but I believe it's a group out of Cheshire.
Because, I mean, at the end of the day, that's who we're concerned about.
Right.
We gotta get the thing fixed, because trying to talk to Utah is not gonna.
Right, and they
Not
did
going anywhere.
update that language at least in the change order, in the PCO, that they will provide the town of Bethel with the contact of the local company, so that you'll be able to contact them directly rather than Utah.
Okay, because, I mean, there were still issues with their contract as far as that goes, because they still had the right to, you know, inspect the equipment. I have a hard time when they're out in Utah thinking they're gonna be inspecting the equipment. I'm assuming the local AN rep is gonna be taking care of this and changing things out, et cetera, as they need to do without having to go back to Utah. So that's what, my concern is just the timing. You know, I just want to make sure everyone's integrated. At this point, have an action run the whole set from there, I don't feel is going to be comfortable for the town for getting the work done. So that's what I want to address. I'm trying to be as specific as I can.
Yeah.
Because I think, I don't care who owns it. I don't care, you know, that API, you know, buys this stuff. I just want to make sure who's going to service it, because they're 2,000 miles away.
well, what Evan is saying, as far as Action Target providing the equipment, meaning the makeup air unit, MAU, they then sort of become the owners because it's being delivered to them and then delivered to us? So is that why they're not doing it at startup or commissioning? They're
Is
doing
that
it
what's-
as delivery?
Yeah, and actually, is that what's happening? Or is it getting delivered to Utah and then it's being shipped from there?
I did not ask that specifically, no. If it's being delivered to them and then shipped here versus.
That's what it sounds like.
Right,
That's kind of what we probably also know.
yeah,
Because that whole concept, haven't done a lot of it with large buildings myself, but in everything we've done through this commission is that the warranties start at startup.
right.
I mean, it's the same, and if you can use, I said this last time, you can use this analogy of, like, when we were doing both school projects, the roofs were warranted at inspection, which would be like commissioning, not when the materials were delivered. You know, the materials were delivered, then they were installed by an approved installer, then they were commissioned, so to speak, or put under warranty. And that warranty didn't happen just because they were slapping some roofing down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no,
That was a good way of me understanding it. And I get that they're providing we're paying them for the makeup air unit. And they're getting it shipped here. I don't think they're gonna put it on their Action Target truck and bring it here. It's gonna get shipped here.
We drop
But
it.
who's installing it?
That's what these are, this is what these red lines,
But what does it say?
it says ATI's contractor,
Is contractor that's installing the makeup air unit.
yes.
But we're
So,
still gonna get it commissioned by somebody here.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
but that's where we have to, I think, we have to kind of insist that, upon startup, that's when our warranties start. That's the way the industry works.
And he's saying that they're saying no, but still. So they're gonna have to figure out how much we fight with them.
Because we don't know that the equipment's even running correctly.
And we do understand that they're installing it, they're gonna start it up,
But we're gonna
but
have,
then there's gonna be some other construction going on during that, so they're gonna have to figure out how to protect it, just like if it were Downs installing it, or
Right.
having Downs bring somebody in to install it. They would protect it while, and then there would be a whole changeover of filters and all that
changing
kind of
the
stuff,
guards,
yes,
exactly.
yeah.
and that's when it becomes ours.
Do we need to ask them more specifically about that? Maybe it's not in the plans, but somehow get some sort of
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, let me follow up with
Yeah.
that.
Somehow we have to get that in the plans that we get.
Or get it written somewhere, because to me, that's a kind of a missing piece still. You know, if their contractors come and start on a Tuesday and hook everything up and walk away on a Friday, and then somebody comes in and flips a switch on Monday and nothing works, who's responsible? We need to know that as the town of Bethel. So, all right, you'll check into
And
that.
we need a formal turnover so that we know that the system is working correctly.
Yep,
That's,
yeah.
and that's when the warranty starts.
Right, right. Okay, so I'm asking the first selectman a couple things, competitively bidding, either commissioning or ESC, or you're checking with Action Target on a few other things. You're gonna see about getting Action Target and Jakunski Hughes red lines put into some sort of more document-looking thing that can be used for bidding. And you're checking into the whole backup year area, not just the warranty, extended parts warranty, but I understand the process of that. They're installing the makeup air unit, they're somehow dragging it out here and getting it put in place by their people. But at what point does it become ours? Because if they have it, they're bringing it here and installing it.
Yeah, there's a chain of possession or
Yes.
custody or whatever.
Whatever you wanna call it.
Yeah,
Right, and so at what point does it become ours, and at what point does
I
the
mean, we're-
warranty start? And that's gotta be
Theoretically, we're
very
not even
specific.
gonna have payment to the thing, and they're gonna
Yeah.
tell us that the thing is ours.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make logical sense, they're telling us that,
Yep.
that they it's sitting in their yard in Utah. It's just the day the warranty starts, we don't even know it.
Okay, so you're gonna do that checking, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do the checking, we're gonna have everything in place for our next meeting, so we can be moving out to that, hit that timeline of starting to get bid packages together and out.
yeah, so it looks like a May 16th or so would be, if we said we are March 10th, get all the sign-offs, get out to, hopefully get everything out to Downs
Right,
at Friday or Monday,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then be out on the street on the 16th and
Yeah.
17th.
because May 10th is our next meeting, which would be good to go with that, okay. So any other questions, anybody here for Evan? Lieutenant Durkin, you got anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, I think we're moving along pretty well, so it's a good thing, but we're dotting all our i's and crossing all our t's and taking out the red stuff and putting the right stuff in there. We just really need to be very clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's just it.
Okay, we do have invoices. So if nothing else, I will move into those, okay? So we do have an STV invoice. This is STV invoice number 900274436 dated April 18th for the firing range in the amount of $4,641.
Second.
John Menti seconds. Any questions on this? Good. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Done. And then I think I had scanned this and sent it to you, but I'm not sure if you,
Yes.
okay. So this is an invoice from Advanced Reprographics. And it's a contractor that Chikunsky Humes uses to print plans. And Vinnie had gone out and had a set plan printed to bring here to do the page turn, which never happened, but we still have to pay for it. This is, they sent it directly to us because it's cheaper than,
No markup.
no markup. So I'll make a motion that we approve Advanced Reprographics invoice number 20398 in the amount of $169.28.
Second.
Roy seconds. I explained, so I don't think we have any other questions. Good to go. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Done. And then Chikunsky Humes, should we wait on that or?
So, yeah, again, that was something that,
It's 100% completion of construction documents, which kind of isn't yet.
right, and, you know, Mark's point was that Ben had asked them to provide signed drawings as they were 100%. As if
Yes,
they were 100%.
okay, yeah,
Um,
which is why they set the invoice.
which is why they.
Got it, okay.
I still would say that we,
Wait till next
Wait
meeting
till
until we
next
get, yeah. All right, so we will do that. We'll wait till the next meeting, and I think that's all I have. All right, so hopefully, at our next meeting, we have a new member, but we'll find out. Again, when I check in with the first selectman and other things, I'll check on that. I think that's it.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Good night.
All right.
Good night,
everyone.
Hamburger, thank you,
That was quick.
Mr. Lieutenant Durkin.